Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Week 12 edition of Fantasy Football Live, right here on Yahoo Sports. Two of our experts are joining me here. That is Brad Evans and Tank Williams. I almost said Andy because I'm so used to saying Andy.
Yeah, you usually forget about me on set anyway. It's usually about Andy and Brad.
It's not an athletic profile as Andy Behrens. I don't know if you knew that.
That's why it's easy to confuse the two. Andy is still with us, by the way. He just happens to be in Chicago, so he is still with us via Skype. Good morning, Andy.
Rev.
Good morning. It's a good day in the Heartland where Kirk Ferentz has moved to 11-3 lifetime against the University of Illinois, 4-0 against Lovie Smith. We can break all that down later.
Behrens, who covered? Who covered?
Uh-oh.
That's right. That's all that matters. It's gambling.
Maybe that's why he stayed in Chicago.
No. I mean, he's walking on cloud nine right now because he's going to go to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, and I'm probably have to go to, like, Detroit.
At least y'all are going to a bowl there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Sorry, Stanford.
Sorry, Tank. Sorry about that. We also have Liz Loza and Matt Harmon with us in our LA studio this morning. Good morning, guys. What's going on over there?
Good morning.
Morning.
I don't know. I don't have a college football team to talk about, so I could talk about like Lynchburg College's. Oh, excuse me, the University of Lynchburg's lacrosse team, which everyone would be real fired up to hear about.
Cool. Well, I am just, I heard you guys talking about the weather, and it's very chilly here in Los Angeles. It was like a frigid 68 yesterday.
How will you all survive?
Condolences. We feel terrible.
About to get a bunch of hate tweets for that.
All right, we'll check in with Liz and Matt later. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, though, let's go over who's in and who's out today. Jordan Howard will miss his second straight game due to a shoulder injury. That's also why Steelers running back James Conner will miss today's game against the Bengals. And in the late afternoon, Patriots wideout Mohamed Sanu is questionable. He does have a chance to play, though, according to Ian Rappaport. And in the night game, George Kittle is listed as questionable, but according to multiple reports, he is expected to play. Andy should be very, very excited about this one. The 49ers tight end missed the last two games due to ankle injuries. Andy, I'm so thrilled for you, and Niners fans, of course. Okay, so one other thing that we want to touch on before we move on is one of Brad's favorite things. I love this. The weather.
Yes.
So, wait, so Liz and Matt will dive more into this game later on, but let's discuss Mother Nature's impact on this game, the Cowboys-Patriots game.
Yeah, we got a pretty ferocious storm out there in the Northeast right now. Not only going to impact weather in Foxborough, but also in Philadelphia, Washington, and New York. But really, the heaviest precipitation you can see right here on the Doppler radar image coming out of the Boston area is centered on Massachusetts and the entirety, really, of that section of the Northeast. We have what's called a training effect. If we were to put this radar into motion, it is showing that the precipitation is moving over the same area. It's moving from south to north. The Gulf Stream waters, which are very warm right there along the coastline.
I bet they are Panama Red.
That's right. Is really fueling the rain event that is occurring there. So this is expected to be a long duration event through kickoff. Could get upwards of an inch and a half of precip during the game. It's going to be chilly. Temperatures in the low to mid 40s. Winds maybe occasionally going to spike with gusts of 24, 25 miles an hour. So what does that mean? Oh, I love it when you just blow in my ear like that, Tank. What does that mean? Well, you got to downgrade some of the players in this game, but this is a perfect setup for who? The Mutters. Zeke Elliott, time to earn that paycheck. Sony Michel as well.
Can we trust Sony?
In the short game as well.
Oh, my goodness.
So we'll have to wait and see. Again, Loza and Harmon are going to dive into a little bit more nitty-gritty on this contest. But yes, Mother Nature will wreak havoc in Foxborough today.
I will say one thing. After hearing that, I'm aroused by this game now.
Are you?
Are you?
I am.
You were laughing, though. Weather is a really serious topic, so I don't appreciate you making fun of Brad.
I mean, weather
I
just
appreciate
does
him blowing in my ear, though. That felt great.
Remember, this show is all about you. So if you need help with your roster, you can find us at Yahoo Fantasy on Twitter. Or don't forget, you can call into the show. The number is 877-FFL-GURU, and we will get to as many questions as we can. Fantasy owners are always looking for the most dependable option to help them week to week, so it's time to decide which flex options are made of reliability, presented by USAA, who help their members achieve a better tomorrow. Now, these players are made to help you this week, so we'll send it down to Liz, Matt, and former Army Green Beret and NFL long snapper Nate Boyer to help make some flex decisions. Hey, guys.
Hi. Thanks, Amanda. So, Nate.
Yes.
We're going to talk about players that we think in Week 12 are going to be reliable flexes. But before we do that, I want to know something that a lot of people probably really know. Because if nothing says reliable content like talking about someone's fantasy team. So I want to know, tell me about your team and tell me which player has been most reliable for you.
We're doing really good.
All right.
We're fighting. We're battling. We're 8-3. I've got a patchwork group of guys, a bunch of gentlemen that
That's how championships are made.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're this blue collar, lunch pail, hard hat kind of guys.
I like that you called them gentlemen.
They're gentlemen. John Brown and Josh Allen carried me last week. But
you're going to give Harmon the
also
vapors
on my
here.
squad, I got James Conner, who I love, got banged up. Amari had a down game because Gallup went off, and I played against Gallup, unfortunately. I was up 14 in the last game, so it's KC, San Diego. I have Butker up 14.
That's a kicker.
And they have, thank you. And they have, what is his name? Keenan Allen.
Oh, wow.
And Keenan Allen went off. I'm in a PPR league.
Yeah.
He had like 8 catches, a lot of them in the fourth quarter. I thought I had it late in the game, and it slipped away. Lost by half a point. But it was the best team in the league, which is okay. It was a good loss. I hate saying that, but it was a good
loss. Well, so can you give our viewers a player that's reliable so they might not have a good loss but an awesome win in Week 12?
Well, I inserted him into my lineup this week. I'm playing both Browns backs. I got Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's my reliability guy. I've been playing Nick Chubb, riding him all year, and he's been awesome. But this week, Kareem, being that I'm in a PPR league, he's getting half a dozen catches a game. The guy's explosive. They're playing the Dolphins. I think he's going to get quite a few handoffs, too. He's probably going to find the end zone. I just feel like that's the guy. That's the go-to.
Reliable.
It's one of the few players that have really been successfully integrated into that offense right away.
Yeah, I mean, he's a freak. He was insane in Kansas City, and obviously he had the off-the-field issues and all that stuff. But, as soon as they got him ready to go, got him eligible, he's out there, and he's getting the ball, and he's making things happen. So
yeah, I think it's a good pick. He's been reliable for Baker Mayfield and for fantasy squads. I'm going to talk about another PPR-friendly running back. Now, the only thing reliable about the Bears is their inability to successfully ROI on a franchise quarterback.
Or win.
Thank you. Yes.
Just do some of that.
But Tariq Cohen has been a reliable chain mover for Mitch Trubisky and a reliable scapegoat for Matt Nagy and David Montgomery by extension. So I will say that Cohen has been second in team targets behind Allen Robinson and fourth in targets overall among running backs so far this season. He's had 4 fantasy-relevant performances in his last 5 games. He's coming off of a top 10 fantasy performance, and he's got the Giants, who reliably stink. Now, this does set up as a David Montgomery game, but we all know that Matt Nagy does not want to give the full load to Monty, so I think there should be enough there for Cohen to be a fairly reliable flex in PPR-friendly formats.
I like that call. I mean, it's a really good matchup, of course. And I'm going to pick another guy who's in a good matchup. I know that the 49ers are getting a lot of players back this week. Sanders should be a bit healthier. We think Kittle is probably going to play. But I still really like Deebo Samuel, who's been cooking the last couple of weeks. And this matchup against the Packers is really good. Since Week 8, they're averaging just 2.3 sacks per game. And obviously, the pass coverage has suffered because of the lack of pass rush. It's a very beatable secondary. Over that span, they've given up over 8 yards per attempt and a 98 passer rating. So bad secondary, that pass rush, if they can't get home, it's just not a unit that can cover really well back there. So I expect Jimmy G and the 49ers as a whole to have another really good game, and I think that leaks down to Samuel here.
I'm a Niner fan, too, so I love it.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. I'm a lifelong 49ers fan in 2019. I don't think we haven't talked about this yet. But that's a long story that no one else, literally no one else wants to hear about.
Let's talk about it right now. It's fine.
Well, why don't we send it back up to the Bay and Amanda?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That was all brought to you by USAA, proud supporter of the military community. What you're made of, we're made for. Before we get into our first quick slant of the day, there's some news on the inactive front for Philly, Brad.
Yeah, Jordan Howard out, Alshon Jeffrey out, Nelson Aguilar out. What does this mean? Miles Sanders, everybody's hurt right now in Philadelphia.
What do we do now?
Cupboard's kind of bare for Carson Wentz. What does this mean for fantasy purposes? Miles Sanders is a top 20 play this week. I got him ranked right now at RB19 ahead of the likes of a Joe Mixon, a Kareem Hunt, a Bo Scarborough, Darius Geis, Jamal Williams-Rojo in that category there. And the tight ends too, Tank. I mean, Dallas Goedert has been a sight for beautiful eyes for Carson Wentz inside the red zone. I think he is going to find the end zone again. And Zach Ertz coming off a 9-catch game. It could be double figures in that category this time around, right?
Yeah, one of those guys is going to get a little love on Baller on the budget. So,
I wonder who that is. Nice little tease there. So, elevate those guys, as I mentioned. And, of course, you got to take the other inactives out of your lineup.
They also get Jay Ajayi back.
Who cares?
Okay.
Yeah. I don't care about Jay.
I'm just trying to help them out.
I have no
one else.
I don't care at all.
no knees. I have no knees.
No one else. All right, let's get to the biggest game of the day. The 8-2 Packers face off with the 9-1 Niners. Now, outside of Aaron Rodgers, because we're going to discuss him in more detail later, what are we focusing on in this one? I'm calling this the BFF Bowl. And that is because Niners DC Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur are supposedly best friends. That's fun.
And Robert Saleh is yoked and excitable on the sidelines.
Yes, mad camera time. He's about to get a head coaching job.
Well, he is going to get a head coaching job for sure. I'm going to go out to Barron's first with this one. Andy, let's talk about the running backs for the San Francisco 49ers. Matt Breida is listed as doubtful, still dealing with that ankle ailment. Looks like it's going to be Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert. Coleman only 74 combined rush yards the last 3 weeks, but what a delightful matchup on paper. Your thoughts on him and Mostert?
Yeah, it's just a great setup for Coleman. I've got him as a top 10 running back option this week. You look at Green Bay's defense, they give up whatever you need. They give up 4.8 yards per carry to opposing rushers. They give up 7.9 yards per pass attempt. A very friendly matchup for Coleman. I think he's going to see an uptick in usage in this one. And then Mostert, a guy who can come in, maybe get 10 touches. Maybe that results in 55 yards or so. Good shot at finding the end zone. Love the running game for the Niners.
Tank. Let's talk about Green Bay real quick. Jamal Williams, a guy that's been getting significant run inside the red zone for this Packers dual backfield, of course, with Aaron Jones being the primary ball carrier. Let's say you're in a 12-team league. You've got a flex position. Would you entertain Williams knowing that San Francisco's really struggled containing the run the last 4 games?
Absolutely. I think you entertain Williams, and then you look for Aaron Jones to be leaned on heavily in this matchup because San Francisco can create some pressure from the outside. Now, we know D4 is going to be out, but me personally, after Cal beat Stanford last night, I hope all the bad things in life happen to A-Rod and only A-Rod. And I also have Aaron Jones on the season-long lineup, so I'm hoping for him to ball out too. So that's what I'm trying to channel into the fantasy universe.
Quick yes or no. Does Devontae Adams score his first touchdown this year?
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to say no.
No?
Nope.
I'm going to say yes.
Oh, okay, good. Fade them. Follow me.
Yeah, we know how that normally works out.
We do that anyway, don't we?
That's true. Everybody does. Hashtag fade the noise.
Time now for fantasy freebies. Matt, Liz, and Nate are standing by to give us some players who are under 25% owned in Yahoo leagues, but they should have a big week. So, guys, who you got for us today?
I mean, these aren't Black Friday sort of bargains. Mm-hmm. What's up, Thanksgiving theme?
See ya. Nailed it.
But I do want to talk about James Washington. That's who I'm going to talk about first. I did like this pick, admittedly, more, knowing that both Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson were going to be out. But Johnson has cleared concussion protocol, so he is going to be on the field. But still, the matchup against the Bengals is nothing but money. They are allowing over 13 yards per reception, which is the highest among receiving defenses in the NFL. Also, Washington is going to match up against B.W. Webb, who is allowing a passer rating of 131.4. We know about the connection between Rudolph and Washington, so I think if you're looking for a dart throw at flex, you could do a lot worse than Washington, even on a Steelers offense, which is obviously not the best.
You know, I actually played against that guy in college.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I'm 38. And
you didn't have to tell people that.
He's like 24, 25. He's a young guy, so it's awkward. It's weird. But, yeah, he's a stud. I agree with you.
All right.
But I am going to Scarborough Fair.
Oh, man, I love this.
That was so bad. Yeah, you know, Bo, well, at this point, I don't even know if it's 25%. I feel like over the last day here, it's been up and up and up. Everyone's picking him up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy. It's him and Ty Johnson back there. Washington, you know, not great run stoppers. And he had his first outing. He had a big week. You know, just came off the practice squad, got out there, 55 yards, I think, on just about 10 carries or so. Mm-hmm. And no, he looks solid. He looks great. And I just, he's a big beast of a man. I remember him in college at Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's jacked. It's insane. So I'm going off that. Pure aesthetics. I think he's going to have a big day.
I got to start him in a league, so I hope you're right.
Okay, yeah,
it's one of the ones I actually care about, so definitely hope you're right on that pick. My guy is Ryan Griffin, and I mean, with all the disaster that's been going on at tight end, you'd think that he'd be a little bit more owned, but I know he's coming off his first 100-yard game of the season and a nice contract extension, pretty much putting the Chris Herndon dreams in the dirt. Sorry,
Thanks,
Liz.
Matt.
Sorry,
Thanks,
Liz.
Matt.
But I mean, honestly, he's been really good over the last month. Over his last 4 games, he's caught 16 of 18 targets. That's 89% catch rate, over 200 yards. And the Raiders, of course, very bad. As Andy said, whatever you want, they'll give it to you. And they've been giving up the second most touchdowns to tight ends, 7 right now. I really like Ryan Griffin as a reliable tight end 1 start, and probably a guy that you're playing the rest of the way, honestly.
What about this other giant tight end from New York, another New Yorker, Caden Smith? I think he has 1 catch.
Caden Smith
starting this week.
Drop your advanced scouting report right now.
Boom.
Ellison's out, Ingram's out. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. I'm just saying, late minute. I know we don't have a package for it, but if it's a last-minute thing, snag him.
Look at that.
Love this.
You know,
On the fly
getting a little
improv
extra.
analysis, Nate. Gunning for a job.
Yeah, right? I'll just leave.
I'll come in. I'll play tight end.
Nice work, guys. Thank you very much. Time now for Shootout or Shutdown with Andy and Brad. We'll go over the high and low Vegas point totals for a couple of games, and we'll start with an NFC South matchup between the Bucs and the Falcons. Not the sexiest game in real life.
Oh, yeah, but it is for fantasy purposes. I mean, there's a lot of lipstick and makeup on this sucker. There's no doubt about it. Look, 51.5 is the total in this contest, and you look at Tampa Bay getting 3.5. Barons, let's start off first. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons and some of the receiving options there. Obviously, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are must-start material. You kind of been intrigued, a little bit enamored with one Russell Gage. Would you give him a go in a 12-team or deeper league? Let's say if you got multiple flexes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially with Austin Hooper out. Those are targets that have to go somewhere. You look at Tampa Bay's defense, they give up the 2nd most passing yards per game. They've given up the 2nd most passing touchdowns on the year. I think this sets up very well for Gage, for Ridley, obviously for Julio, who is probably going to give us 150 scoreless yards like he always does. Yes, love every element of Atlanta's passing game.
Tank, let me ask you about Tampa Bay, and I'm in agreement with Barons. I think Russell Gage is one of those sneaky sleepers this week that you can plug and play, cheap in DFS, and still widely available right now in Yahoo leagues if you're a little bit concerned about some of the conditions that are out there, or maybe you lost an Alshon Jeffrey due to inactivity. But what about Rojo, Peyton Barber? I guess the question I need to ask you is this. Do you buy the resurgence defensively of the Atlanta Falcons?
I mean, they've given up 12 points in the last 2 games. So I think right now we're trying to figure out if they're just
You know what's funny is this.
Look, 2 pump chumps. Is that what the Falcons are?
Yeah, well, defense? Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. We can go there. We can go there.
I mean, can we? I mean, so that's what we're trying to figure out, if that's what the Falcons defense is, or are they going to just come on and keep balling out?
Well, what's hilarious is Isaiah Oliver, who plays DB for Atlanta, was asked, what's up? How did you guys turn this thing around? He goes, communication. We just started talking. We didn't do anything differently in the scheme. I'm like, all you had to do was open your mouth and talk? Yeah, it took you 11 weeks, 10 weeks to figure that out. But
this is the thing, though. If the Falcons defense keeps playing the way that they are, then our shootout that everyone's anticipating goes down the drain.
That's true.
Because we need my man Jameis Winston to be pushing on the other side for Matty Ice to go ahead and throw those 4 or 5 touchdowns.
And there are a lot of props out there on Jameis Winston at 302.5 passing yards. I think he hits the over, and you love Matt Ryan as well. You just want to stack.
So that's the thing. If you think he hits the over, then you think that Vegas is right, and then it's going to be plus 50.
All right, let's go ahead and transition. Barons, I'm going to come back to you. Let's talk about this god-awful Bills-Broncos game in Western New York. Got a total of 37. The Bills are favored by 4 in this contest. Look, the advantage that I think the Broncos have in this game is underneath coverage, because that is the vulnerability of the Buffalo Bills. Do you expect a spike maybe in receptions from a Phillip Lindsay or Royce Freeman in this game, working away from Tre'Davious White?
Well, I certainly think that Lindsay especially is a strong start in this one, because one of the other vulnerabilities for Buffalo, especially recently, has been the ground game, right? They're giving up 4.4 yards per carry on the season. I think Lindsay can give you kind of a sneaky 85, 90 total yards. Probably the best shot of any Bronco at a touchdown in this one. I don't mind Cortland Sutton as well, but yeah, I think Lindsay is the way to go.
And one good thing to note, too, Phillip Lindsay, 2 first names, but I think the Lindsay, the female name, gives it the reverse jinx.
All right, I like that. Let me ask you real quick. John Brown going up against Chris Harris. Where does he rank? Is he a wide receiver 2? Is he a wide receiver 3? Is he outside looking in?
I mean, you know he's going to get a lot of targets, John Brown is, but I don't want any parts of that, especially because he popped last week. He popped last week. Josh Allen popped last week. So do you expect them to double up against that Denver defense? Vic Fangio? Like, come on, dog. Nah.
And I'll throw one last thing. I'm going to throw one deep name if you're desperate at tight end. Dawson Knox could have himself a nice little game. The Broncos have been susceptible to the tight end this year, and I think he could be a centerpiece in this game plan for the Buffalo Bills.
Expect a hockey score.
3-2. Final. Done.
Final. Okay. Love it. Let's get some of your social questions answered. As always, Matt and Liz are standing by to help. Hey, guys, what's going on?
Well, we have a really good first question here, a wide receiver debate, and I like the way they sent this in. Caitlin H. asks us, Cooper Kupp or DK Metcalf in a 1-point PPR? I need a win this week or I'm probably out of the playoffs. And I like that she signed it. Thanks, Caitlin. Hashtag AskFFL. Very cute.
Good grammar and polite.
I love signing the tweet with your name.
There's 3 paragraphs.
That's good.
And you used a comma properly.
It's just gorgeous grammar. I think I'm going to start signing off all my tweets. Thanks, Matt.
She's at Mrs. Big Ben 7.
All right. Well, all right. That's an interesting one. Let's go with this question, though. Do you guys like Liz? I know you said you had a strong opinion on this.
I did.
You said you didn't want any part. You said you didn't want any part of this Rams nonsense.
Well, I don't want any part of the Rams nonsense, but I'm not starting DK Metcalf ahead of Cooper Kupp, assuming Robert Woods is on the field. We know that the Baltimore secondary has gotten better and better. I'm not particularly interested in this matchup, but I do think that with Cooks back on the field to stretch things for Kupp and Woods on the other side, Kupp will have a little bit more run, and he won't continue this path that he's been on of low volume and low production. DK Metcalf is the upside play, but I think the safer play by a large margin is Kupp.
I think because it's PPR especially,
yes.
I'd agree with that. You know, I mean, Kupp's Mr. Reliable. He finds those empty spaces. And, yeah, I mean, if you're going full PPR, I don't think DK's the guy. Sometimes there's some games he only gets 4 or 5 targets.
Right. I'm personally very intrigued by DK Metcalf this week, but especially because you say you need the win to get in the playoffs. You don't want to be sitting at home hating yourself because you played DK Metcalf over.
With grammar like that, she'll never hate herself.
Well, you know, we don't even want to put you in that position at all. Let's move on to the next one. And this is a defensive question, which we don't get very often, but I like it. Browns defense or Bears defense this week? Of course, we know Browns going against the beautiful Miami Dolphins, and the Bears have the Giants. I think you go Bears.
Yep.
Here. Because take it. Why is it so obvious?
Because I want the defense that's not missing 3 key pieces.
That would be nice. Also playing Daniel Jones, who, as I say all the time, is number 2 in the league in WTF turnovers to 1 Jameis Winston.
There you go.
Sack City too. I think the Bears get a lot of sacks.
Yeah.
That's happening. I mean,
it's about the only thing they're doing well, rushing the passer pretty reasonably well in defense. So,
and they won't be gassed because it's the Giants that they're playing.
Exactly. Now let's take one question from our chat room before we jump out of here. Jason from Facebook asked us, with several siren emojis a couple of times, Michael Gallup or your boy Philip Lindsay.
Austin Eckler. I'm telling you, it's a bye week, but play Austin. No. I'm going to say Philip Lindsay for personal reasons because I want Amari Cooper to have a lot of targets because he's playing for me this week. So, Philip Lindsay.
I am going to go with Philip Lindsay because I think that Michael Gallup is going to see a lot of Stephon Gilmore against the Patriots, and Bill Belichick is going to bracket or double cover Amari Cooper, and they're going to take away that Dallas passing game. So that is why I'm going to lean towards Lindsay, and we know that the Buffalo run defense has been exposed as of late.
Well, I really screwed myself here because that was a lot of points I was going to make in my wide receiver segment, so we can cancel that for now. But I am going to make it a clean sweep with Philip Lindsay here. The Bills have started to fall apart a little bit as a run defense. Just don't count what they did to Kalen Ballage last week. I'm talking about real NFL running backs here.
That's
you don't like 2 yards per carry?
No.
Doesn't move the needle for you?
It doesn't move the needle.
All right.
Thanks. Time for our first commercial break. When we return, we'll tell you which players will be off their game this week. Stay with us.
No DJ.
welcome back to FFL. There are players who are more than 50% owned in Yahoo leagues, but they may not get you as many points as you like, and that brings us to our next segment. So guys, who will be off their game in Week 12? Brad, you're up.
Oh, the cup, it spilleth over. And that is certainly the case with Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams, a guy that has not done much of anything the last couple of weeks. 7 targets, 3 receptions, 53 yards, no touchdown. Look, the positive aspect of this LA Rams offense last week against my Bears was the fact that they started running the football effectively. That sets up the play action. And it was a game of millimeters for Kupp. Nearly found the end zone. I know he was a bit under the weather, but boy, he is going to be sickly in terms of his production this week because this Baltimore Ravens defense, I know Lamar Jackson's stealing all the headlines, but it is ascending and rapidly, and he's going to see Marlon Humphrey in coverage, who's given up just a 57 catch percentage and below an 80 pass rate to his assignments. I think it's like 5 catches, 65 yards, no touchdown. That's about it for Kupp under the primetime lights.
Andy, who's your guy?
Yeah, I got to go with Dak Prescott. You heard from our weather boy, Brad Evans, that they're going to be playing in a cold weather monsoon. Terrible conditions there. And then you look at the matchup against New England, it is absolutely brutal. The New England defense allows 5.3 yards per pass attempt, the fewest points to opposing quarterbacks by far in fantasy. Just 4 passing touchdowns on the year against 19 interceptions. So it's a terrible spot for Dak for all those reasons. I know he's been great so far this year. He's got 3 straight games with 3 touchdown passes, but not this week. Ain't going to happen. He's going to finish outside the top 12 at his position.
Tank?
Yeah, I'm going John Brown because he went straight Dracarys against the Dolphins last week. Yeah, Game of Thrones reference.
He had 14 episodes, so I don't know.
14 targets, 9 receptions, 147 yards, 2 tugs. But now he's going against that Denver pass defense that gives up the 4th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. So I imagine John Brown being like Daenerys Targaryen after she burned up King's Landing. And then Chris Harris is Jon Snow coming with that dagger. So basically what I'm telling you is that don't chase the points and the dagger to the heart. Let my man John Brown chill on the wall this week.
Ooh, we've gone too long without Game of Thrones references, so thank you for that. Let's get a check of our social channels to check in and see what kind of questions you guys have. Matt and Liz, of course, take care of that for us. Hey, guys.
First one that we have, I've seen a few people ask it. Chuck from Facebook asked Dak Prescott or Baker Mayfield this week with a lot of turkeys, so I got to give you the Thanksgiving cred here. You go Dak Prescott in a tough matchup or Baker Mayfield?
I'm going Baker for sure. Because part of it's because of the Kareem Hunt insertion. But yeah, I mean, I just think he's always capable of having a big game, you know, and it's just a matter of like managing the turnovers. And I think for whatever reason that even if he throws a couple this week, he's going to have 300-400 yards, going to have a couple touchdowns. He might run one in. I think he's going to have a big game.
Well, since Kareem Hunt's been back, those turnovers have kind of started to go away because he has that
Just
safety
dump it
valve.
down.
Yeah,
Chill out.
He doesn't have to chuck it deep all the time. I really like that pick as well. Liz, are you on the train as?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about taking away the passing game in Dallas, so I think Dak will be negatively affected, obviously, there. And we talked about on the Yahoo Fantasy Football podcast, Matt and I did, about this finally being the week for OBJ, which I know our colleagues both in Chicago and Sunnyvale agree with. So I'm going to go with Bake on this one as well.
Plus
I love it. Yeah, the weather.
Oh, gosh, we have to talk about the weather.
Is problematic. How about this one from Black Lavender 83?
Ooh.
Hey, my good folks, I like that. I have a flex question, half PPR. Jacob Hollister versus the Philadelphia Eagles or Hollywood Brown versus the LA Rams. I like this because there's like totally different ends of the spectrum.
Oh, those are.
I don't know. The Hollister thing is very interesting. It seems like anytime you throw any old goofball out there at tight end, Russ Wilson makes him a thing.
Goofball.
What?
Caden Smith.
Another big guy from Big Sky. He's from Wyoming. There's a type. Russell Wilson has a type.
Clearly. But though, personally, in this one, I am going to go with Hollywood Brown. I think that's naturally. I can't resist the upside, the ceiling in a game that, look, maybe Jalen Ramsey travels with him, but I think with Hollywood Brown's speed, we could see him get loose on those crossers, maybe against some zone coverage. I like that here.
Hollister's number 48, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he stole my number.
What the hell, man?
I played in one game with
That's
Seattle, and I got a 48 jersey, and now, so, I mean, come on, Hollywood Brown. I'm going Hollywood. We're in Hollywood. Why not?
Perfect.
Well, I'm certainly not going to say anybody who stole Nate's number and sitting right next to me. So we'll talk about Hollister a little bit later as well, but I think that you have to chase the upside in this one and go with Hollywood as well.
I dig it. All right, last one we'll take for now, and I forgot your name because it's all off my screen or whatever, but you asked Bo Scarborough, Brandon Cooks, or Curtis Samuel, and I know that you need a win because you're playing your Pops this weekend.
That's a big one.
Your guy, Bo Scarborough, is this where you're going?
Always beat your dad. Yeah, I'm going Bo. Bo knows.
All right.
That's all I got. We talked about him earlier. Look at that guy.
I do think Bo Scarborough has the highest floor here.
Probably, yeah.
So I'm going to lean towards Bo as well, which seems a little bit nuts, but...
Hey, nuts is good. Hey, that's weird.
Edit.
It's live.
You know, it's a live show. We can't edit it.
Oh, that's going to get shared.
Matt, do you want to say anything, or should we just give it back to Sunnyvale before the whole...
I'd probably play Brandon Cooks. I like the fact that they're starting to do, some more play action, and Goff can hit deep shots off play action. If they're running the ball well with their power run game, like we saw last Sunday night, I expect that to
be... The clamps in that secondary.
I know. It could be tough, but I cannot resist the ceiling. Look, you need to beat your dad. You're not trying to get 12 points from Bo Scarborough.
Beat your father.
You're trying to get like 21 from Brandon Cooks. I like it. Okay, here's the deal. Nate, thanks so much for being with us. You taught us a lot.
About nuts.
In the last 2 minutes, you taught us a lot.
About myself. About how ridiculously stupid I can
Number
be.
48, that got stolen.
Yeah.
Something about nuts. We good.
Dads,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Beat your father. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Nate. We're all a little nuts. Don't worry. It's time now to head into our first over-under. This is where we take a player and a stat, and our experts decide whether they'll go over or under that total. So earlier we mentioned we'd go into more detail on Aaron Rodgers, and here we are. He's averaging just a bit over 20 fantasy points per game, which puts him in the top 10 of fantasy QBs on the year. Now, facing a relentless Niners pass rush on the road, the question is, can Rodgers go over 19 fantasy points today? Brad, we'll start with you.
Oh, man, I'm going to regret this decision. I think we're going to regret it universally, but I'm taking the under here. Look, Kyler Murray is the only quarterback to hit the over against the San Francisco 49ers this season. They're giving him just a 5.9 in terms of YPA, 171.5 pass yards per game and 1 passing touchdown per game. Rodgers hit this total over 3 times, and he usually shines under the primetime lights, particularly on Sunday Night Football, but this is going to be a ground-heavy attack. 240, 250, maybe a touchdown or 2, and maybe a turnover in there, which is rare for him, which will sneak him the under.
Tank?
Yeah, I'm going under, too. I'm going to just throw out a couple of stacks. The San Francisco 49ers give up the second fewest points to fantasy quarterbacks. And if you flip it, the Green Bay Packers give up the 6th most points to running backs. So I think that the Niners are going to lean heavily on my man Tevin Coleman. And so Jimmy G really isn't going to push Aaron Rodgers to try to throw up points. Therefore, it's going under. And I hope that all the bad things in life happens to Aaron Rodgers and only Aaron Rodgers because Cal beat Stanford yesterday.
Oh, that's a vendetta.
Matt?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep of 3 chumps here going under on Aaron Rodgers. Look, this 49ers defense is still very good against the pass, but they have started to show some cracks as a run defense, and I think Matt LaFleur is smart. That's why you've seen Rodgers come under this number before this season. I think they put the ball on the ground. They give it to Aaron Jones. They give it to Jamal Williams, and that's how they're going to try to beat this 49ers defense, not by having Rodgers air it out.
Hate all day.
Rodgers, he got roasty toasty in Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And I hate him even more for being on Game of Thrones.
Nothing.
Not better at all. Not better at all.
Let's keep Matt here, and we'll bring Liz back in as well for our next quick slant. The Cowboys head to Foxborough to face off with the Patriots. There's plenty to discuss from a fantasy perspective in this one. So, guys, what are you most excited to watch in this one?
Excited to watch.
Excited to watch.
I mean, I expect this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think you're probably, not just because of the weather, but because the line opened at 46 and has since moved to 44.5 per BetMGM. And also, Tom Brady came out earlier in the week and said the thing we need to do is focus on the best part of our squad, which right now is the defense. That means a lot of running. Now, can they get Sony Michel going? Well, they're going to have to. They're going to have to. I think this is also going to be a big James White game, especially with Mohamed Sanu probably not playing. I mean, he has a high ankle sprain, so he's likely, even if he is on the field, not to do much. Edelman's really the only reliable receiver in this group. Philip Dorsett's been concussed, right? So, I think James White, Edelman and like maybe Sony Michel because of the weather. But I don't know what kind of like chunk gains you're going to get out of him.
I think with Isaiah Wynn maybe coming back,
it's a good point.
could help with the run game a little bit. Also, just, Shaq Mason's one of those good players that isn't playing quite up to par this year. That could turn around at any moment. We know they have a good offensive line coach. So that is one way that they really need to win here. I want to talk about, obviously we talked a little bit about the secondary matchup with the Patriots, how they're going to match up with these Cowboys receivers. Does that therefore, look, I think Dak Prescott has been awesome this year. I'm on record as saying that many, many times. But
you think he's an MVP candidate?
I think he can be. If he wins this game, then I think that's the type of like signature moment.
How many yards does he need to pass for? And I think, unfortunately, the weather's going to negatively affect him. Like over 250, 280,
I just
200?
I think it's all about the win.
The win.
Like
it doesn't even matter.
If he plays a clean game and they win, and he, maybe he runs for a touchdown or two, like just a couple of big plays, doesn't lose them the game, then I think you're looking at it. But because of the secondary matchup that we talked about, bracketing Amari Cooper, Stephon Gilmore on Michael Gallup, which I think then you're looking at like
Randall Cobb,
maybe even
Witten.
Tony Pollard a little bit.
Well, they need to get him more involved.
It's clear.
100%.
This is where you make that MVP moment, when you start elevating everyone else around you when they take away your first two weapons. I do expect Dak Prescott can get that done. He's played that well.
I love the Tony Pollard pick. I think getting him more involved is going to be a key to this offense in general, because Zeke has not looked as explosive as he did the prior two seasons.
Sounds like that's a lot of fun things to watch.
Thank you, guys. Time to hit the phone lines now for some play calling. Remember, the number to call is 877-FFL-GURU. First up, we have Matthew in Concord, North Carolina. Good morning. What's your question?
Good morning. How you doing?
Great, thanks.
Shout out to Team Huevos. Here we go. I got a question. I need to pick two of the four. Mark Ingram, Kareem Hunt, Jalen Samuels, or David Montgomery in a standard non-PPR.
Oh, God.
Someone's triggered.
Oh, it hurts.
You knew who to throw in there.
Oh, God. Burns, I may need your assistance on this one. It's really tough because I love Kareem Hunt today. I think Kareem Hunt's going to find the end zone. He's going to get his what's become customary 5 to 7 receptions. It's Miami, for crying out loud. I mean, I think him and Chubb are going to go nuts. Do I believe in the wonderful powers of one mandatory Montgomery? It's a great setup. Do I trust Trubisky? Hell no. But that is the side I'm leaning there. I'm going with Hunt, and I'm going with Monty. Am I crazy, Tank?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ref.
Well, I think you got to start Jalen Samuels here against Cincinnati. It's just a beautiful matchup. There's not going to be any James Conner in this one. Samuel's probably going to get at least 60, 65% of the backfield touches. I think he's a near guaranteed touchdown, 80-plus total yards. I go with him. And then I would back you up on Montgomery. I mean, I think the volume's going to be there, and the matchup against the Giants is certainly friendly.
I think he's got 3 great options there. I really do.
Fingers crossed for Monty.
God, I hope so.
Next up, we have Jesse in Minnesota. Good morning. How can we help?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. Hey, just need some help with wide receivers. Full PPR, I need 3. Randall Cobb, Darius Slayton, Hunter Renfrow, Chris Conley, and if I can take a chance on Andy's man crush, George Kittle, if I have Ryan Griffin on my roster. Thanks.
Yeah, you could definitely play George Kittle. Yeah. I mean, look, he's expected to play. He's got a broken bone, I guess, allegedly in his ankle. That's according to Adam Schefter. But look, I think he's going to be good to go. Even a 70% George Kittle is better than most tight ends that are out there. Most of the options that you listed there. I like Randall Cobb. I think this is going to be more of a Randall Cobb game today for the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be a Zeke-heavy game on the ground. You're going to have a little Tony Pollard sprinkled in, kind of playing that almost an Austin Eckler type of role. And then you're going to see some Randall Cobb, who is, Tank, all of a sudden having this resurgence for the Dallas Cowboys. So those are the guys that immediately come to mind. And then I think he needed a third option there, and it's Hunter Renfrow for me.
Yeah, definitely Renfrow going against that Jets secondary. I mean, they've been giving up. They're one of the teams giving up the most fantasy points to wide receivers. And so Renfrow is that little slot receiver that we all love, like a.k.a. Edelman, a.k.a. Wes Welker, all that stuff. He's bottled up into that for John Gruden. So plug and play.
Yeah, play Trevor Lawrence's dad, because I think that's how old Hunter Renfrow.
Stop doing it to that man.
All right, another break for us, but when we come back, we'll let Brad make his betting picks.
Oh, no, we don't want that.
We always want that.
Fade the noise.
Come on, we love it. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. Let's kick it over to Liz, who's standing by with some sleeper picks for us in a segment we call Fantasy Damage. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Amanda. So I want to talk about a little discussed running back, and his name is Patrick Laird. He is on the Miami Dolphins. Now, Matt Harmon on one of our halftime live streams pointed out, I thought rather astutely, that the Dolphins aren't just in tank mode, they're in full evaluation mode. And as Brad Evans has yelled quite a few times, we have all evaluated Kalen Ballage. The next man up is Patrick Laird, with Mark Walton no longer in the building. And while Laird does not have much of an athletic profile, he does have experience as a receiver, and that's good when you're on the Dolphins, who are likely to be coming from behind and also don't have many pass-catching options. He caught all 6 of his looks for 51 yards versus Buffalo last week, and as we mentioned earlier, the Cleveland Browns will be without 3 key defensive players, so I think Laird is an interesting play in PPR formats this week. I also like, speaking of PPR formats, and as the guys discussed before the break, Hunter Renfrow. He has really emerged over the past few weeks, and his rapport with Carr has certainly blossomed. He is tied with Darren Waller in overall targets and is second in red zone opportunities. He's going to face the Jets. Brian Poole is allowing a passer rating of 115 when targeted. The Jets secondary giving up the second most points to opposing wide receivers. I think that you could see I think that you could see Hunter Renfrow catch 6 balls for over 60 yards and maybe even find the end zone, so I like him there. Finally, you know I got to talk about tight ends, and you know I have an affection for Jacob Hollister, the new big guy from Big Sky and the apple of Russell Wilson's eye. He has scored 3 touchdowns and put up 2 top 5 fantasy finishes over his last pair of games. He's going to face the Eagles, as we discussed, right? And the Eagles last week gave up 5 catches to the Patriots tight ends. The matchup may not be particularly prime, but we know that Hollister has a presence in the red area of the field, and I have him projected for 5 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Some damage.
Thanks, Liz. Henfro should be his new nickname, by the way.
I like it.
Good. You know what we love around here, aside from a good nickname? Advice from Brad. So he's over at the monitor to give us all the gambling fun we could ever need and want. Isn't that right, Brad?
Yeah, that's right. We got to make that holiday cash. We got doorbuster deals right around the corner on Black Friday. So you got to build up the surplus so you can afford all those toys for your spoiled, rotten kids. Let's look at the record. The over-under right now, #Fartgate. 6-8. Terrible. The spread, 11-8 though, so it smells a little bit better. A little bit better than senses overall. We're getting hot here. Ice cold though on the totals. Let's go ahead and roll into it here with our first selection here in week numero 12. We got the Cowboys, we've got the New England Patriots. The over-under, the total of course has come down because of the weather there. We've already talked about it's inclement. We've got that training effect as I discussed. We're going to have accumulated rain, maybe upwards of an inch and a half during the contest. It's going to be slick. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be ground heavy, eating up the clock and keeping the overall total suppressed in this one. Only 54%, shockingly enough, of public spread action right now on the under. It's come down from 46.5. I'm still taking the under here on 44. No, I'm not going to bet against New England at all. Hell no. Never bet against Bill Belichick. But the under, I think, is a sound wager overall. Let's move on to the next matchup here between the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay, the most popular selection against the spread in the Super Contest out in Las Vegas. A lot of people follow that. They're getting 3.5 in this one. I hate to side with the public. 60% of the public spread tickets, according to Sports Insights right now, on Aaron Rodgers, Mr. State Farm. But I tell you what, I think the Green Bay Packers are the soundest wager here. 7-3 against the spread in the last 10. 4-1 ATS are the Pack in their last 5 contests. Give me the Packers. Gonna earn you some cheddar this week, plus the 3.5. And let's now move on to Monday night, another fantastic game. And unfortunately, again, I hate tailing the public, but it makes too much sense. I don't understand this line at all. Have you seen the Rams? They've been dehorned. They've been turned into Rocky Mountain oysters in terms of what they have been producing on the field offensively. This Ravens defense is ascending right now with a full complement of DBs at their disposal. Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters, revenge game. All these factors are going to come in, and we know that Lamar Jackson is uncoverable, unstoppable right now. And so are the Ravens against the spread. 4-1 ATS last 5. The Rams, however, 11-4 ATS in their last 15 contests. In the public, again, 81%. I hate tailing them, but 81% of the public spread tickets on the Ravens. Ravens smashing this one. I think they are going to bleed the books dry. All right, let's go to a player prop. Will Amari Cooper gain 69.5 receiving yards according to MGM.com? Hell no. Have you seen the matchup? Have you seen the weather? I mean, this could be played in paradise, and I would still handily take the under here because he's going to see nothing but Stephon Gilmore and McCourty in coverage. Both these DBs well south of a 60 passer rating allowed. Here's the other thing. Only 3 wide receivers have gone over this number this season. Those 3 were Juju Smith-Schuster, Cole Beasley, and Golden Tate. Where do they most often line up? In the slot. Where does Amari Cooper line up primarily? Outside. He's only played in the slot 13.7% of the time. Fade this nonsense. Take the under. I don't even think he hits 50 yards. And I would sit down Amari Cooper even in 3 wide receiver leagues. Now go out there and make that money. For the love of God. Team White House, back to you.
I'm feeling good about this week, Brad.
I am too. I'm feeling extra saucy.
Let's see how your rosters are doing, though. Liz and Matt handle all of your questions for us. Hey, guys, what's up over there?
Yeah, hit the chat room if you have questions. We're going to hit 3 right now. The first one we are going to hit, though, and I like this one a lot. It's a 3-way wide receiver debate. Marquise Brown, Robert Woods, and what the hell was the last one?
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow.
Yes.
There we go. I like it so much I forgot the question. All right, what do you think here? I know you like Hunter Renfrow.
Well, I remembered the question because I had picked Hunter Renfrow, and I just discussed. What do I call him? Hunkfro. I'm going to talk about Hunkfro. How about that? We'll even change it a little bit more. Hunkfro.
Oh, wow. I don't know if his
because of his PPR hunkiness. I am not objectifying anyone, folks. We talked about Marquise Brown's upside and chasing that. Robert Woods has a really tough matchup, as Brad just talked about, with the Ravens secondary. I like Hunter Renfrow in this one. It may seem weird, but I think that is the most PPR-friendly play.
I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown again. Really do like him as a play here. Take a chance on that upside. Renfrow definitely gives you a good floor, but I think that's about it. Now, another question I just saw that I liked, because I have a strong feeling on one player over the other. You ask Jalen Samuels or Derrick Henry. I'm over this Jalen Samuels nonsense. Get it out of my life.
Also, Matt, you know who's in this week?
Whomst?
Benny Snell.
Oh, great. The greatest running back of all time.
It's back, baby.
I'll tell you what, though. I had a friend ask me last night if I would play someone or Benny Snell, and I went with Benny Snell because of that matchup.
Welcome to the
against
dark side.
The Bengals. Hytham, that one's for you, buddy. Also, just in general, Derrick Henry, awesome.
He's a beast
going against the defense that allows the most yards per carry in the NFL. And Jalen Samuels is not a running back, obviously, as we know. Now, here's another one we have. Sirens. We've got the caution symbol. John Brown or Dede Westbrook. I know there's been some worry about John Brown on this show, but if you look at what Stephon Diggs did last week to the Broncos, they were able to get him away from Chris Harris a little bit. I think they can do some similar things with John Brown, with the Buffalo Bills offense. And in general, you're locking in a much, much better target share with Brown than you are with Dede Westbrook.
We preach volume, and I think talent and volume are the tiebreakers, and in this situation, those tiebreakers go to Smokey.
Very strongly go to John Brown. So we will be with you all day. We're going to do 2 halftime shows where we interact with you people in the early games and the late games. Keep hitting that chat room with good questions.
How about you? We're going to react. We're going to interact with you. Can we ask for, can I make a request? I'm throwing this out here.
You may.
If you want us to engage, how about telling us your favorite Thanksgiving side in preparation for this Turkey Day that's coming up?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah, do you like green bean casserole? Are you a pumpkin pie person? Do you just like to drink the wine? Maybe you're into cranberry sauce.
Mac and cheese. There's not enough mac and cheese out there on Thanksgiving spreads. Give me a break, people.
Some people like ham, lasagna, pizza. Also, if you want me to come to your Thanksgiving, give me pizza and wine, and we can scrap the turkey and the other nonsense.
I like that, actually.
Well, now I'm hungry, so thank you very much, guys. Another commercial break for us, but up next, we've got Tank's daily fantasy budget plays.
Oh, yeah. We need some music to go out. Ebony and ivory go together in perfect harmony.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live here in Week 12. It's time now to get into another over-under. Washington running back Darius Geis made his return in Week 11 after suffering an injury in the first game of the year. 69 total yards on 8 total touches versus the Jets. So can Geis hit that mark again today versus Detroit and go over 61.5 total yards? That's the question. Andy, you can start us off.
All right, please understand this is not an endorsement of Washington's skilled players. Generally, I'm not suggesting that you load up on him, but yes, of course he can go over this number. Had 69 yards in his return. You look at the matchup here against Detroit. He's facing a defense that is nearly as bad as his own. The Detroit Lions have given up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs, 4.5 yards per carry on the season. Yes, absolutely, guys can get this over.
Brad?
Your resident odds maker here on Fantasy Football Live is a coward. I set a very low bar here for him to get over. Of course, I'm going to take the over here. It should have been much higher. It should probably been like 77.5, something of that nature. Look, he only played on 29.4% of Washington snaps last week, but Adrian Peterson's not 100%. He's dealing with a toe issue. I think the pendulum is going to swing to the side of Geis. He had that juice that we saw back during his LSU days. He's always been a Loza favorite. 17 guys! 17 players at the running back position have gone over against the Hello Kitties of Detroit, and I think Geis is going to add to that total. So this is low-hanging fruit.
Liz?
I am going to pick this low-hanging fruit for the segment and not for my fantasy football team, because obviously you don't want to be tied to the Washington offense. But Andy is right here about the fact that the Lions are susceptible against the run, though they have been better over the past 2 weeks against the rush with Mike Daniels back, but they are getting filleted via the air. And while Geis is not known for being a receiving running back, Chris Thompson is still out, and he did catch a 45-yard score via the air last week, so I absolutely think he can go over this number.
All righty. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's highlight some wide receivers. Matt Harmon has a couple he likes and dislikes, so we'll give him the floor on this. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I'm going a little deep here with this guy that I like this week. It's Atlanta Falcons slot receiver Russell Gage. I think if you're on a bye-week jam, Gage can get you through. Look, since Mohamed Sanu has been traded, Gage has owned that slot position for the Atlanta Falcons, lining up at a team-high rate, 74% of his snaps in the slot. He's been pretty reliable. He had 9 targets in that first game. He actually had a touchdown last week against the Panthers that was called back, so maybe that's encouraging, him being used in the end zone. I think, again, this is a safe pick, mostly because of the matchup. We know the Buccaneers invite you to throw on them, and teams are all too willing to take the invitation. The Bucs give up the 3rd most catches, yards, and touchdowns to slot receivers. Gage, I think, can get you through that bye-week jam, even if you've never heard of him before, because he's like a career special teamer. Now, a guy that I don't like as much this week, Liz talked about it earlier, it's Michael Gallup. We know that we've seen Bill Belichick do this many times before, and he could throw us a curveball here, but I do expect him to get the Stephon Gilmore treatment while Amari Cooper gets some bracket coverage. We know that Stephon Gilmore is one of the best cornerbacks in the game. He's giving up a passer rating of just 24.5. That's the lowest among all starting corners. This Patriots secondary is still very good, even if the run defense has started to show some cracks. And again, I talked about this earlier, but with Dak Prescott being an MVP candidate type quarterback, I don't think that he is going to force the issue to his receivers who are very well covered outside. I mean, Amari Cooper is good enough to beat that bracket coverage, so he might very well still have a pretty good game. But combined with the weather, combined with likely seeing Stephon Gilmore, I don't like Gallup this week. I think Randall Cobb might honestly be a better play, because that's the player that Bill Belichick will dare to beat them, and I think Dak Prescott is good enough to take advantage of those matchups.
Thank you very much, Matt. Time now for Tank to hop on over to the monitor to give us his daily fantasy advice. I know I could use plenty of DFS assistance, so please, Tank.
Yeah, you hear noise.
Questions.
Like sometimes you have to dig deep to find the ball on the budget. And no, trust me, I'm going to explain this out.
All right.
Now, Dwayne Haskins is $21.
Uh-huh.
He's going up against a defense that gives up the 5th most points to fantasy quarterbacks, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, he threw for 2 tubs and had 18 points against the Jets. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to ball out and throw like 4 tubs, but at $21, hey, sometimes balling is covering your salary. And I think he can do that, so that's why he's a ball on the budget at $21. Good?
Huevos Gigantes.
Yeah, I got huevos, but it's all good. Now, moving on to my running back. I have Miles Sanders. You have no Jordan Howard. Jay Ajayi has no knees. He has no wide receivers to throw to since we got Aguilar and Jeffrey on the shelf. So having Miles Sanders at $14, knowing that he's going to get volume in the run and pass game, he's just way too damn cheap not to have him in your lineup. Now, moving on to wide receiver, we have Jamison Crowder. Like, all the dude does is average like 8 catches a game and scores a touchdown. Basically, he's the melanin-enriched Eric Decker of a few years ago, where all he does is get about 6 to 8 catches and get about 60, 70 yards and a touchdown. Am I lying, Noise?
No, not at all.
Good reference, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Now, moving on to tight end, we have Mike Gesicki. Now, the Browns used to be what the Arizona Cardinals are now to fantasy tight ends, but they're still in the top 10 as far as giving up the most points to fantasy tight ends. You have Mike Gesicki, and, like, listen, if Devontae Parker isn't getting the catches and the touchdowns, it's going to be Gesicki. And I think a lot of people are on Parker, so as a nice little attorney play, go ahead and slide Gesicki in for $12, and he going to holler for $12. Now, at defense, I have the Falcons because I don't think they're two-pump chumps. They're going against Jameis, and you can't spell Winston without INTs, and I think Jameis is going to throw a bunch of them today. And for only $11, you definitely don't get all that balling on a super low budget.
Pick 6, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I got Atlanta in my DFS lineup.
Me too.
I think we all do. That's the unfortunate downside. That's a popular pick.
Maybe I need to switch.
We're going to take a quick look at our season-long Guru Challenge standings.
I hate Rev.
I know. Andy
Stay in
not
Illinois.
only won last week.
Over.
You have 4 weekly wins on the year, Andy. That's crazy.
I am
and
declaring
you also,
this contest over.
It's insane.
It ain't over yet, Barons.
You going in my tourney lineup right now, Rev.
We're all running out of time.
You fold like a house of cards every year.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Brad.
Yes.
Wait, so it's Liz in second, Brad rounding out the top 3. Okay, so it's going. I think this is status quo.
I mean, you're breathing down the neck there of the dashing Matt Harmon.
That is true. I'm not that positive that I'm going to catch up. I think I'm going to stay in last place.
Highly likely. Highly likely.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, there you go. All right, it is quick slant time again, and we saw the top 2 teams in the AFC South battle on Thursday night, and today the other 2 square off in Nashville. So we'll put 90 seconds on the clock for Liz and Matt to see what they're focusing on in this Jaguars-Titans game. Hey, guys.
Well, it's a stunning, beautiful fantasy matchup here whenever the Jaguars and Titans get together. But I think what we learned from Nick Foles last week in his first starting run in quite some time is that he is much more willing, much more able to uncork that deep ball. That's good news for DJ Chark, who we know scored twice right away and then late in the game. I mean, he is a locked-in play every single week. We know that. But what else on this Jaguars offense is intriguing you now that Foles is there?
Well, also Malcolm Butler, we should mention, is on IR for the rest of the season with a wrist issue. So
and Adoree Jackson has been getting cooked out there.
He's better this year than he has been in the past, but that's not saying a whole lot. Actually, all of these receivers have good matchups. Chris Connolly against LaShawn Sims is good. You've got Dede Westbrook. I don't think he needs a downgrade opposite Logan Ryan in this one, but I just don't think the volume is going to be there. I don't love Leonard Fournette here because Tennessee is much better against the run than they are via the pass. But, I mean, Nick Foles could make it happen. I gave 33 of 47 in his first time out against Indiana last week. I don't think anything changes here projection-wise for Jacksonville. Like, you're starting DJ Chark. Maybe if you have a dart thrower upside play, Connolly gets in there too. And you know that Fournette's going to have a ton of volume, even if he isn't finding the end zone. He's only scored once so far this season.
I'm a little worried about Fournette and Foles together because I think we talked about this a little bit on the podcast. They're a little bit like oil and water, right? Like they don't mix because Fournette is that classic I formation running back, and Minshew could play that offense well, but you know, Nick Foles likes to be in shotgun, likes to be in the spread, likes to run those RPOs, and that's just not Leonard Fournette's game. He needs to get downhill, especially because they don't have the best offensive line. So I think that's another thing I'm tracking. Fournette had 7 catches last week. That passing game should be able to sustain you, but I want to see if he can actually run well with Foles back.
But you're not gonna downgrade him too much because of the amount of volume he's getting. So it's kind of cancels each other out. On the Tennessee side of things, you guys get excited. Corey Davis is back. We missed him, huh? Wow.
Sick. Ryan Tannehill has provided a verified upgrade for this offense, but it's not enough to get me excited about any of these receivers.
I think Derrick Henry, as Matt mentioned earlier, is only $30 in DFS, and he's going to steamroll the Jags.
I love it.
Thank you, guys. Time for another break for us here on Fantasy Football Live. When we return, we're going over-under on a Miami Dolphin. Yes, I know, we're talking Dolphins, but just trust us.
Dan Marino's back?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Ricky Williams?
Lace us out, Dan.
Welcome back to FFL. As we get closer to kickoff here in Week 12, let's check in with Matt and Liz to get some social questions answered. Hey, guys.
Liz, I like the one that we were just answering before the break. A little running back debate here.
You want me to throw this one up?
Let's throw it.
It's from Andy Lossick, and we were debating it. Jamal Williams or Sony Michel. Jamal Williams is the knee-jerk. Well, yes, that makes the most sense. But as Matt mentioned earlier, the Patriots are getting Isaiah Wynn back. As Brad mentioned, the weather is obviously going to lean towards Sony Michel. And as I mentioned, Tom Brady wants to feature the run game because the defense is the best part of this squad currently. And he's struggling a little bit with the passing game because of the lack of receivers and maybe a bit of an elbow issue. So I think that I'm going to go against my rankings in this one and have to do some adjusting and lean towards Michel.
I think so, too. I mean, it just, again, you're looking at volume with the weather. Like you said, they should be able to keep the ball on the ground. And Dallas's defense is like just whatever. Right. They're very, very middle of the road. But let's keep moving. We've got some good Thanksgiving sides like you asked for, Liz. Carlos says mashed potatoes all day.
Yes.
I like mashed potatoes, but you better do it right. Number one, don't be giving anything out of the box. Like, that's disgusting. But Allen Robinson, John Brown, or DK Metcalf, we need two of those.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about smoked Gouda mashed potatoes. What are the people again?
Smoked Gouda, right? That's what I'm talking about.
I have a friend that makes smoked Gouda mashed potatoes, and they are Bat City. All right, so what?
Love that. It was Allen Robinson, John Brown, or DK Metcalf.
Allen Robinson, John Brown, or DK Metcalf. I'm going to go with Allen Robinson. I know that Trubisky is hard to trust, but this matchup against the Giants is amazing. I'm not worried about Janoris Shakins, and if he does seem to draw DeAndre Baker, you know that he is the touchdown maker.
Well, remember, we need to go for seconds here. So John Brown or DK Metcalf, which one do you prefer?
I don't want to argue with you, so I'm going to say John Brown.
I was going to say DK Metcalf.
Really?
Look at that, a Thanksgiving
surprise. It's like a Thanksgiving table.
I don't know how that is, but whatever.
Well,
you don't want to argue with your You don't want to argue with your relatives who all have terrible opinions.
No, I didn't say terrible opinions, but I do think that I would lean towards John Brown because, again, when I look at the volume, and I am in agreement with Tank here about the coverage of Chris Harris. I think Chris Harris is going to be playing angry after what Diggs did to the Broncos last week, but I still think the upside goes to Brown. And I just, even with Tyler Lockett a little bit banged up and Jacob Hollister owning the red area of the field more for Seattle, I'm a little bit worried about Metcalf.
Yeah, I think that, I think that makes sense. I think you can guarantee a little bit more volume with John Brown, but I like.
You still like Metcalf? That's fine.
Metcalf's upside. The secondary in Philadelphia is getting a little healthier, but nevertheless, I think Russ should be playing pretty well. And in general, I just like to side with the upside here on that one. I think Brown is more.
I'm
gonna
tell
floor
Smokey.
Play. Don't tell.
Tell your son.
That would hurt his feelings way too much because I know he cares so much about what I think. Now, another wide receiver question here. Need one flex in a full PPR. DJ Moore, Tevin Coleman, or DK Metcalf. DJ Moore has been locked in lately, getting a ton of volume. We know as Kyle Allen is just deteriorating before our eyes.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm not that sorry. Deteriorating before our eyes, he's just much more able to hit these short passes, those shorter routes that DJ Moore runs, and that's going to kind of take away the deep ball from the offense. So I like Moore is the clear pick here, especially in PPR.
I don't disagree. He was your reliable pick about 2 weeks ago, and for good reason. He's getting 50, at least clearing 50 yards per week, so I like that as well.
Keep letting us know your favorite Thanksgiving sides. We have a lot of good ones coming in from the chat there. Let us know, and we will answer them all. We will connect with you people. And remember, you can always come back and watch our halftime show, where we'll definitely be talking about some food, some Thanksgiving goodness, I guess. I don't know, maybe. But now I said we are. Early game halftime, late game halftime. We will see you all.
And don't forget to use the hashtag AskFFL.
Because I always forget to do it.
Thank you, guys. Time for another over-under for us. The Dolphins had their 2-game winning streak snapped at the hands of the Bills last week, but receiver Devontae Parker had a career-high 135 yards in the loss. Now, no touchdowns, but he did score a TD the only other time he's faced the Browns. So this one's simple. Does Parker score a touchdown? Andy?
Oh, remember when we used to talk about good players and over-unders? Yeah, it feels like it was so long ago. I'm going to take the over here, actually, just on volume. In each of his last 5 games, he has at least 50 receiving yards, so he's become a bit of a high floor play. Back-to-back games with double-digit targets. He's got touchdowns in 4 of his last 7. There's nothing about the matchup that really terrifies me, so I think just on volume alone, he's a pretty good bet to find the end zone.
Tank?
I mean, I think we need to give Devontae Parker a little credit because he's gotten hell on fantasy Twitter for the past maybe 2 or 3 years, and actually the dude's been playing well lately. And he has 26 targets over the past 3 weeks, and he only has 1 touchdown in that time frame. And with Shake and Bake heating up on the other side, I think Fitzmagic's gonna have to throw the pill around in order for them to keep up. So I think he definitely goes over.
Matt?
I'm with Tank. We need to give Devontae Parker credit. He has started to play really well. And in this matchup against the Browns, we know that Myles Garrett's not going to be out there. Larry Ogunjobi's not going to be out there. That's going to give a much cleaner pocket for Ryan Fitzpatrick to tear apart this secondary, which has good players, but still some guys that can be vulnerable. I'm giving it the sweep here. I say Parker also gets into the end zone this week.
We win.
We've spent a lot of time on things today that we care about, but there are some things that Matt and Liz just don't care about. So, guys, what are you not paying attention to today?
I am not paying attention to all the Jimmy G haters because, look, I think right now this year he's played right in line, with these guys who are a little bit volatile week to week. There's certainly some times that have been a little concerning for Jimmy Garoppolo against Seattle Seahawks in the overtime. He looked, I would say, scared of the moment. But last week was a really big performance to me for him because, yeah, he goes out and throws for a career-high yards, 4 touchdowns against the bad Arizona Cardinals defense. But when you put it in context of he was missing his starting left tackle, his number 1 receiver was injured in and out of the lineup. George Kittle, a true verifiable difference maker, was not on the field. I think it becomes that much better of a performance for Garoppolo. And frankly, I know that he beat up on the Cardinals twice, but this Packers defense, like I mentioned earlier, if they don't get home, just 2.3 sacks per game over the last 4 weeks, or the last 4 games, excuse me, that Packers pass coverage is not good either. I expect Jimmy G to have a really good game in primetime here and sort of kind of start to change that narrative that he's a weak spot.
I think you're absolutely right that the Packers defense has been a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in terms of finding an identity, and I imagine that the San Francisco offense will take advantage of that. I don't care about the muddiness of this 49ers backfield. I am tired of people talking about which RB is it going to be. Listen, Tevin Coleman is healthy. Matt Breida is out, yes. Raheem Mostert, everybody was hyping him last week, and I was like, I don't know. Jeff Wilson is a thing. He was a thing for 1 damn catch and scored a touchdown.
Made it count.
And Juszczyk is a thing, and he caught all 7 of his targets or 6 of his targets, something like that. So, like, Mostert is a play. He's a low-end, I don't know, a low-end RB2, maybe a flex. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. They're not putting him in near the red area of the field, but you are going to get that in Coleman. Instead, I am interested to see the distribution of targets, to Matt's point about the passing game with these receivers, because it has been all up and down because of injuries. Kittle being out, Sanders is back. Can he stay on the field? Is he going to be able to withstand the pain of the rib injury that he's dealing with? Or will he be leaving? I mean, rib injuries, that takes a lot of time. I've had a cracked rib, and that stuff hurts. Kittle is back, though, so I want to see, and Deebo Samuel, as much as we like him, is dealing with a bit of a shoulder issue. So I want to see how Jimmy G is starting to distribute his targets and who he is looking to most frequently. And that's the thing I'm the most interested in.
I like that. And to your point about all these pass catchers, too, Kittle being back really helps the run game as well, because he's a great blocker. Ross Dwelly,
my boy!
I don't know that we're just going to see him go away because of the pass catcher, the receiver unreliability after the top 2 guys.
And the thinness, a lack of depth.
We know that Kyle Shanahan likes to run out 2 tight ends, 2 running backs back there. I think we might still see a little bit of Dwelly. I mean, he's not a fantasy option, but I think just from a formation perspective,
Dwelly watch.
Worth watching.
Thanks, guys. All right, it's Brad and Tank's turn to help some viewers out and make some picks, so take it away, guys.
Hold on, Noise. Before we start, rock, scissors, paper. 1. You ready?
Yep.
1, 2. 1, 2. Yes, I get to do it. The first tweet coming in from Slurpy Dave. Now you can go ahead and take over.
Well, we don't know what kind of Slurpy Dave likes to enjoy, but we'll let your mind wander on that one. He needs a wide receiver and a flex and a full PPR league, Tank, and that is what's key here. Who do you like best?
We got to go with Deebo.
Deebo for 1. I'm in agreement there, so take him. And you know, again, in a full-point PPR, you usually lean to the side of the wide receiver, but would you go with Darius Guice?
I mean, that's a hell of a matchup.
And what do? We maximize a matchup.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Guys, will be nice. Debo, Darius for that first one. Next up, Hamilton Myers. Very fancy name. Hamilton Myers. Needs 1 quarterback and 1 wide receiver and a half-point PPR.
Is there any way for you to not go with the invisible juice?
Yeah, like, why is this even in a debate?
Yeah, even though Breeze, I mean, going to get the pants and all that, but nah, invisible juice. Lamar.
He's absolutely superhuman.
Action
Jackson. There he goes.
There we go. Action.
And do you go, I mean, you were talking about Jamison Crowder earlier. I love Marvin Jones this week as the secondary option, maybe the primary option for Jeff Driscoll against Washington. Josh Gordon is definitely the odd man out here. So it comes down to Crowder, Jones. Where do you go?
Hey, all this dude does is get like 8 catches, 8 targets and a touchdown.
I'm going to side with Jones, but because I love you, Jamison Crowder.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Numero 3, Ryan Evans,
needs
my cousin.
2 flex, half point. Oh, yeah.
My cousin needs 2 half-point PPR and a flex. What do you got?
Ooh.
I think we're in agreement here, right?
Uh-huh.
So Darius Guice for 1.
I don't know about Sterling's head. Scary Terry, I mean, that could be
That's a nice match.
That's a nice one. Another one that's a nice one, too.
Or against the Lions, excuse
Griffin.
me. Ryan Griffin is great, and Ryan Griffin got paid yesterday coming off a 100-yard game.
But one way to look at it, you can go Griffin, you can go Crowder, maybe Robbie Anderson has a game. Who else is Haskins going to throw to besides Scary Terry? I think I like Scary.
You're stacking Washington players? Man, I guess the holiday drinking started early for you, brother. All right, let's go to GCHOFF77. Needs 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, and a full-point PPR. Tank.
Oh, I kind of like.
Come on.
All right, so we got to go
PPR.
Galladay.
I got to go there. You got Bo Scarborough, Joe Mixon, Debo for the other slot.
Man.
He doesn't catch any balls.
I know.
So he's got those popping fresh legs.
We got to go with Joe.
Yep. Got to go with Joe Mixon, who's got.
Actually been playing pretty well the past couple weeks.
Scored a touchdown 3 of his last 4, 46 touches the last couple of games. Got to side with the volume, though. It's an unappealing matchup.
Tough matchup, man. Yeah, they're going to probably stack the box against him.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Tank, did you say rock, scissor, paper?
Yeah.
He's just making stuff up. That's what they do in the South.
Rock, paper, scissors?
As long as you have all 3 of them, it doesn't matter. Does it really have to go in a specific order?
Yeah.
Paper, rock, scissors.
All right,
really?
we will debate this.
That's not how they teach us in Mississippi.
You got to follow the alphabet, bro.
We're going to talk about this. We do have another break, though. Don't go anywhere. We've got Raiders Jets talk next. We'll get you right, Tank.
Ready? Break it down.
Oh.
Woo! Get it up! Learn the alphabet, Tank!
Jump on it.
Yeah!
as we were popping.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live as we inch closer to the rest of Week 12 kicking off. We are still dancing here, as you can see.
That's right, girl.
We're going to get to a quick slant. You guys ready?
Sure.
We always ready. Good.
Okay, good. The Raiders travel all the way across the country to face the Jets. Now, one guy I assume we'll discuss is running back Josh Jacobs, and he could cross the 1,000-yard mark in this game.
Hey,
That's
JJ.
something to watch for.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go out the Barons first. I mean, Josh Jacobs, you look at the New York Jets, they've been actually outstanding in terms of defending the run. Number 1 and fewest adjusted line yards allowed, according to Football Outsiders. But Barons, are you in the same boat as Tank and myself when it comes to the one Jamison Crowder in this game? And, we talk about Ryan Griffin as well. And the other forgotten guy here is Robbie Anderson, who's always got that explosive big play ability. What's your take on the receiving core of the New York Jets?
Yeah, it's a good spot for him. Oakland on the season gives up 8.2 yards per attempt. You've certainly been able to throw the ball against him all season. Crowder has been great this year. He's finally healthy, right? I mean, he hasn't had a healthy season in his entire career, and now you see what he can do, what he actually can play, like 15, 16 games. So I like Crowder, like Griffin a lot here. Oakland on the year giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So I think Griffin, right after getting paid, right after the big game, going to have another nice one.
Tank, let's talk about the Oakland Raiders receivers. We've already mentioned Humphro.
My cousin.
Yep.
Talk about my cousin.
Yep, that's right. Tyrell, that's who I'm bringing up right now. Josh Jacobs, obviously a centerpiece of this offense, but Tyrell Williams has that explosive big playability similar to Robbie Anderson. Could this be a blow-up spot for him in rain-soaked conditions there in Jersey?
Yeah, rain-soaked or not, the Jets give up the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers, and Tyrell is going to be his main target going deep down the field. And what do you like about rain? DBs slipping. And if he gets behind those DBs slipping, binkies.
And he knows a little something about slipping.
Yeah, I don't know anything about slipping on, nothing like that. But I know about other guys slipping in the rain, just not me. Never happened.
All right. Okay. I bet there's film on that somewhere. We got to dig that one up.
We'll let you figure that out on your own, and we'll get one more check of our chat before we head out.
Business noise.
Matt and Liz, what's going on over there?
I like this first question I see here. We got 2 football emojis and green bean casserole as the favorite Thanksgiving side. I don't like green bean casserole. I think it's... Sorry, Brad. I can hear you squawking on the other end. I do not see green bean casserole. Mostly, it's not done right. Plus, if you do the little crispy onions on your own, little homemade action, not that thing out of the box.
Oh, you're crazy. The thing out of the box is the best. You can just eat that like as you're going through the day in a can, like snackables.
Don't do this to yourself. Now, before it goes off the screen, I better answer the question. Full PPR, James Washington or Hunter Renfrow? I know these are 2 guys you've liked all show.
I have not. Well, first of all, I pulled back a little bit on James Washington with Deontay Johnson in the lineup. And that's not I'm talking about hyping. But I did hype Hunfro. And I'm all on hashtag Team Hunfro.
We got another. I'm going to agree with you there, by the way. Need 2 and a full PPR. Another green bean casserole lover. Give me a break, you clowns. Full PPR. Saquon Barkley, Philip Lindsay, or Le'Veon Bell. Need 2 this week here. Oh no, you need 2 this week. I think Barkley's the automatic against the Bears. Sure. So it's between Le'Veon Bell or Philip Lindsay. Le'Veon Bell doesn't look great.
He's been bad and he's real hurt, and that O-line is not letting him be patient or use his vision. So I think that Philip Lindsay, who even in tough matchups has gotten chunk gains. Like, he is just looking hashtag better. And I am not going to yuck your yums. Go ahead and love your green bean casserole. Just don't bring it to my Thanksgiving. Lindsay and the other one? Barkley,
yes. I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell, though, in this spot. I know he saw 18 carries in back-to-back games, over 30 receiving yards. It's not pretty, but I think there's a little bit more upside, especially considering the matchup with the Raiders.
The Raiders are not bad against the run.
They're not bad against the run, but still defensively they're going to be able to move the ball. And when they get into scoring area, it's going to be Le'Veon Bell at the goal line, not Bilal Powell. Look, that wouldn't necessarily surprise me. All right, and last one we're going to get to here is we just got lipstick emojis, no sides here.
That's fine.
It's another Jalen Samuels question. Jalen Samuels or DJ Chark half PPR? You got to go DJ Chark. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, enough.
Seal that one with a kiss and your red lipstick.
Beautiful. And Liz, before we send it back to Sunnyvale, final thoughts for Week 12.
Final thoughts for Week 12. Just throwing that one to me, huh, buddy?
Well, it was in our ear. I mean, I was told to do it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Bo Scarborough run all over Washington, and Kenny Golladay should have it. You know what? I actually do want to talk about Jeff Driscoll because I think he has been pretty spicy. I think he's a good DFS play this week. He's only, like $24? And while I don't normally think that the Lions and Washington's team are particularly hot starts, I have been impressed with Jeff Driscoll. And listen, I'd take him over Mitch Trubisky. So I am a little bit interested from a fantasy perspective to see what Driscoll can do in this one.
Yeah, me too. I actually have Jeff Driscoll in both of my DFS lineups because I want to get up to guys like Alvin Kamara, Julio Jones, everything like that. I think that's a really good pick. My final thoughts, I want to see this Browns offense finally do something. I want this. If this is not the Odell Beckham game, then it is never going to happen in 2019. No. Good matchup. We know that. He's also, I think, number 7 in air yards over the last 3 weeks. Baker Mayfield, like I mentioned when Nate was here, starting to get a little bit more comfortable, easing those turnovers out of the game because of Kareem Hunt, I think, being a nice safety valve. And we know you're not going to get much pass rush on that bad offensive line from the Miami Dolphins. Also, by the way, their pressure rate is down 10% over the last 3 weeks. So I think Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, both these running backs, lock them in. Hey, even Jarvis Landry.
Both really good DFS stacks as well. Nice values. Baker Mayfield's only $30. And yes, one last thing. Hype it up for Devontae Parker, who has been actually good over the past few weeks and completely under the radar because of the brand he is attached to. So those are some final thoughts from us. Oh, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday. And whatever sides you like, may you enjoy them.
Yeah, even if your opinion is wrong.
Well, I'm on veggie duty this Thanksgiving, so I'm now feeling very inspired to make green bean casserole.
Yes!
So thank you for that.
Don't listen to Harmon and his stupid takes about green bean casserole. It's delightful.
All right, before we say goodbye, we're going to say hello to a few callers. So first up, we have Brandon in New York. Good morning. How can we help?
Hey, good morning. Just want to say very quickly, I've been listening since the very first season when it was Chrisless, Funson, and Evans, and it's been awesome ever since. Very quickly, my question is a 0.5 PPR flex, Jalen Samuels or Cooper Kupp? Thanks.
Jalen Samuels or Cooper Kupp? You got to go with the guaranteed volume. I'm going to go with Samuels. The spicy meatball here is Benny Snell, who Liz Loza absolutely adores. And Trey Edmonds is also going to be involved. But, Samuels was right around 75 combined yards and a touchdown earlier in the year against this same Bungles defense. I think he could easily replicate that production in the second go-round. So for me, it's Samuels.
Yeah, we'll go Samuels.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Urel in California. Good morning. How can we help?
Good morning. I have PPR league. Mixon, Hunter, or Carson? One. I need one.
One. All right. Andy, can you chime in?
I'm not entirely sure I heard all those names, but I heard Carson there at the end, and just on volume, I don't know how you can not play him. He's over 20 touches absolutely every week.
All right.
Yep, I'm with him.
Agreed. All right, and lastly, we have Dave in Wisconsin. Good morning, friend. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. In the show, you guys have already answered my first question, so I want to go to my backup, which is half PPR league, running back Devin Singletary or running back Kareem Hunt.
Devin Singletary or Kareem Hunt? Oh, God, this is really close for me. I think Hunt's going to have a big game in working in tandem with Nick Chubb. I'm going to maximize the matchup. I'm going with Hunt, slight advantage over Singletary.
Yeah, definitely more points scored in that game, so I would go with Hunt as well.
Yeah, with that total at 37 in the Broncos game, yeah.
All right. Thank you to all of our callers. We really appreciate it. That will do it for us.
Bam!
For all of us here in Sunnyvale and, of course, LA, thank you so much for watching. Also for Andy, who's in Chicago. Best of luck to your fantasy team this week. We will see you next week, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 PT, right here on Yahoo Sports. Happy Thanksgiving.
We hope your turkey is fried.
For life!
Fried turkey, mac and cheese.
Get that green bean casserole.
Eat your heart out,
ham.
everyone.
Oh, and the ham with the eggs for breakfast the next day after Thanksgiving. Oh, my God.
Oh, Lordy.